Long ago during the Ice Age, Raven chose Bear, the keeper of dreams and memories, to help him out. Raven made a pact with Black Bear. Black Bear agreed after he was given huge assurances from Raven that he could live in peace and safety for all time. Raven asked Black Bear to create one white bear out of every 10 black bears to serve as a reminder of the Great Ice Age. Today, still 1 in every 10 black bears in the Great Bear Rainforest is still white. But how interesting and alarming to think about that Raven story now, when the ice caps, descendants of the Ice Age, are melting and the spirit bear is on the verge of extinction. There are only 200 spirit bears still out there, but I believe we can make a difference. To understand what puts life in danger, we first need to look what supports life, like habitat and food. The spirit bear lives in the Great Bear Rainforest, a large region of coastal temperate rainforest that stretches from Kodiak Island in Alaska through British Columbia, Canada. The Great Bear Rainforest is 1/4 of the world's temperate rainforests, and it is the largest temperate rainforest on the coast. The Great Bear Rainforest has a high rate of rainfall. The soil is very rich. The temperate rainforests are a lot colder than tropical rainforests, so the growth of the trees is a lot slower, which means they can live up to 1,000 years or more. The special thing about the Great Bear Rainforest is that it is home to the First Nation people. The Great Bear Rainforest is also home to some species that are at risk, including the endangered marbled murrelet, white spirit bear, the rare northern goshawk, and the grizzly bear. The spirit bear, also known as Kermode bear, is a black bear but has white fur. A lot of people think it is albino, but it is not. It is a black bear with a recessive gene. To make this bear, both parents need to have the same gene. The bears have a special relationship with the First Nation people. The First Nation people believe that the bear is a god because it was made by Raven. And they also think the bear is one of their ancestors. The salmon are an important food source for the white bears. Male salmons have a hook-shaped beak, which is the red colored salmon, and the females are darker colored, and as you can see, they don't really have that hooked shaped mouth. And the bears will also eat moose and deer fawns and other things like insects and nuts, but their main diet is fish eggs. Salmon is their life source. The bears depend on the salmon runs in the fall because so many fish come to the coastal tributaries to spawn. The most important aspect of the fish eggs is that they carry a ton of nutrients and protein. The eggs are critical to the survival of the bear. These bears are the only bears that carry more than 2 cubs at a time. The protein of the eggs helps them sleep and survive through the winter. The bear's coat gives them an advantage when fishing because the fish can't see the coat as well as the darker coats of grizzlies and black bears. The spirit bears catch their fish 1/3 of the time, and black bears catch their fish 1/4 of the time. Over 190 species of plants and animals benefit from salmon, including killer whales, sharks, sea lions, seals, otters, bears, loons, mergansers, herons, kingfishers, aquatic and terrestrial insects, algae, mosses, terrestrial herbs, shrubs, and ancient trees. Trees also benefit from salmon. Up to 80% of the yearly nitrogen from trees along banks of streams are made up of salmon nutrients. A tree 500 kilometers away from a stream has salmon nutrients in it. Spirit bears need about 50 to 100 square miles to live on freely, but in mating season they will expand their territory to find females to mate with. The trees of the old-growth forest are a sanctuary for the bears. It is also their home and their battlefield. The trees provide shelter for the bears to sleep and rest in. If the trees get cut down, the bears won't have their sanctuary to den in anymore. The trees are special to another animal, the salmon. They depend on the trees for shade and to keep the waters cool. If the waters warm up even a little bit, the fish will not spawn and they will leave to go back to the colder waters. Today, the main dangers threatening the bear's survival is the proposed Northern Gateway Pipeline. In response to clear-cutting that was devastating the ecosystem, 4 years ago, the First Nation people made an agreement with the Government of Canada that changed the land and how it is managed. It stated that there must be sustainable logging, no mining, and no hydroelectric dams. So, in this picture, the red bordered lines are the Great Bear Rainforest Project area, which is the proposed protected area that I just talked about. The darker green areas are the new protected areas after the agreement. Biodiversity areas, which are the light yellows, yellow kind of lands, pieces of land, are they don't have any logging or hydroelectric dams or mining. And the light green are existing protected areas before the 2008 agreement. A company called Enbridge initiated the Northern Gateway Pipeline project. The pipeline would be 715 miles long, going from Kitibat, British Columbia to Bertrand, Alberta. Carrying condensate, it would carry condensate to Bertrand and petroleum back to Kitimat Harbor, where super tankers, the biggest kind of tanker in the world, would pass through the protected waters of British Columbia to bring it back to China. The pipeline wouldn't be in the protected forest, but it would be close enough to make a disturbance to the animals that live there. If a tanker spilled, in the protected barrier, it would be destroyed, and all the animal life would die. There has been some oil spills in the past few years around the world, so it isn't that uncommon that an oil spill could happen. So that's another danger to all the life, including the bear's main food source. Enbridge is logging on 1/3 of the Great Bear Rainforest, but the other 2/3 are still protected. However, while the pipeline doesn't go through the protected area of the Great Bear Rainforest, the tankers will. The pipeline requires that roads to be built, and it takes logging to build roads. If logging starts and the trees are gone around the salmon spawning holes, they will become open to the sun, and all the fish eggs will dry up and die. So the bears will be in trouble because they depend on the salmon runs in the fall, and the trees will be in peril because they need the salmon nutrients. Today, there is 5 million acres of the Great Bear Rainforest that is permanently protected from logging. If all the trees get logged, the bears will only be a half a mile from a road. The bears need the old-growth trees like firs to make their dens for the winter. When these trees are cut down, they need to move to different places to find food or shelter. The bears depend on trees in many different ways. For shelter, to keep them cool, and to bring their catch back to eat it. The logging killed the entire natural habitat for the bears. When I started studying the spirit bear, I soon realized that in order to understand why the spirit bear is endangered, I would need to understand the bear's relationship with the trees, salmon, and how the pipeline could affect it all. We are all connected, and because we are all connected, it is necessary that we work together to save the bear. The pipeline causes a great threat to the spirit bear and the Great Bear Rainforest, but there are solutions and activists working to save this amazing animal. Change is possible. There is still an argument going on between the First Nation people and Enbridge. Enbridge is trying to sign the deeds for the pipeline to be built, while the First Nation people are fighting against it, and that's happening right now in 2012. Join me to fight against Enbridge. Please look at the back of your program guide, and you will find contact information such as the Nature Conservancy, QQS, Pacific Wild, and SEAS, who are fighting to protect sacred animals like spirit bear. These groups are working hard to save natural habitat, and they're trying to save the spirit bear and find sustainable work for the First Nation people. Humankind is not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things bound together. All things connect. Chief Seattle, 1854. We're all connected. Thank you for listening.